Hello everyone, and welcome back to our channel where we explore the inspiring lives of the saints. Today, we're journeying back to 10th century Spain to meet a figure whose life is a testament to quiet faithfulness and perseverance. His name is Saint Amaswinthus of Málaga, and his feast day falls on December 22nd, right in the heart of the Advent season. Now, you might be thinking, I've never heard of Saint Amaswinthus, and you're not alone. Unlike some of the more famous saints, the historical records about him are quite sparse. We don't have dramatic stories of martyrdom or incredible public miracles. Instead, what we have is a powerful lesson in consistency and the sanctity of a life lived steadily for God. So who is Saint Amaswinthus? He was a monk and an abbot in Andalusia, in the beautiful region of southern Spain. He served at a monastery called Silva de Málaga, and he served there for a very, very long time. Tradition tells us he was the abbot for somewhere between 42 and 44 years. Think about that for a moment. Over 4 decades in a position of leadership, guiding a community of monks day in and day out. That requires an incredible amount of patience, stability, and spiritual strength. He passed away in the year 982, leaving behind not a legacy of grand monuments, but one of spiritual endurance, because he lived before the Great Schism of 1054, which formally separated the Eastern and Western churches. Saint Amaswinthus is recognized as a pre-Schism Western saint. This means he is honored in both Catholic tradition and sometimes appears on Eastern Orthodox liturgical calendars as well. His story belongs to the entire undivided Christian family. The life of Saint Amaswinthus poses a fascinating question for us today. What do you want to be remembered for? In a world that often celebrates fame, fortune, and fleeting moments of glory, Amaswinthus offers a different model. All we truly know for certain about him is that he was a monk. He was an abbot for 44 years, he loved God deeply, and here we are, over 1,000 years later, still remembering his faithfulness. His life wasn't about being seen by the world, but about being seen by God. This is where we find the profound wisdom in his story. There is so much we can learn from people who dedicate their entire lives to prayer and service, living for God rather than for worldly approval. The truth is, the vast majority of saints in heaven are unknown to us by name. We don't have their stories recorded in books, but what we do know is that every single one of them discovered and embraced the incredible power that comes from collaborating with God. They open their hearts and their lives to His will. So today, in honor of Saint Amaswinthus, let's take a moment to reflect on this idea of collaboration. Let's ask God to help us discover that same power in our own lives. We can even offer a simple prayer together. Lord, help us to realize that the saints were ordinary people who simply made themselves available to you. Give us the courage to make ourselves completely available to you, so that together we can collaborate in whatever ways you envision. Amen. As we've journeyed through the lives of the saints this past year, we've met some of the most extraordinary men and women in history. But perhaps the biggest obstacle we face in forming a real connection with them is that we see their holiness as something unattainable. We put them on pedestals, imagining they were somehow different from us, that it's impossible for us to live the way they lived. When we do this, we almost dehumanize them. We strip away the reality of who they were as flesh and blood human beings. We forget their struggles, their doubts, their fears, and the immense effort it took for them to follow God's will. We forget that the virtues they are now famous for, courage, patience, charity, wisdom, were not born overnight. They were forged in the ordinary, sometimes messy, moments of everyday life, just like ours. So how can we rediscover the beautiful humanity of the saints? Hopefully by spending this time with them, walking and talking with them through these stories, you've started to see them for who they truly are. They are not unrealistic cartoons of holiness. They are our greatest companions, our friends, and our cheerleaders in our own struggle to find joy and make sense of this life. By discovering their beautiful humanity, we can, in turn, discover our own. The key lesson from a saint like Amaswinthus, and indeed from all the saints, is this: your greatest ability is your availability. Let me repeat that because it's so important. Your greatest ability is your availability. The saints were ordinary people, just like you and me. They had their own unique personalities, talents, and weaknesses. But they all shared one thing in common. They made themselves radically available to God. And because they did, God was able to work through them to do extraordinary things. Never ever forget that. Let's circle back to Saint Amaswinthus. His life was not about a single heroic moment. It was about thousands of small, faithful moments strung together over decades. It was about waking up each morning and choosing to pray. It was about leading his brothers with humility. It was about showing up day after day for 44 years. This is the holiness of consistency. This kind of faithfulness is especially poignant when we consider his feast day. December 22nd, this is just a few days before Christmas, during the final busy stretch of Advent. It's a time when we are all preparing for the coming of Christ. The life of Amaswinthus reminds us that this preparation is often not about grand gestures. It happens in the quiet, steady rhythm of prayer, in our obedience to our duties, and in the unseen acts of love we perform for those around us. His life is an Advent lesson in itself. It teaches us that holiness is built day by day, choice by choice, quietly and faithfully. In our modern culture, we are often encouraged to build a personal brand, to make a name for ourselves, to leave a mark on the world that everyone can see. Saint Amaswinthus challenges this notion completely. His legacy isn't written in stone, but in the spiritual lineage of the monks he guided and the silent witness of a life wholly given to God. His story invites us to look for holiness in the ordinary, in the long haul, in the commitment that doesn't waver when no one is watching. So, I want to leave you with a couple of questions to ponder. First, what is your relationship with the saints? Do you see them as distant, plaster statues, or as real, human friends who are cheering you on? Maybe you can pick one saint, perhaps even Amaswinthus, and try to get to know them as a friend this week. And the second, more challenging question is this: do you truly believe that you can be a saint? Do you believe that by making yourself available to God, He can do extraordinary things in and through your ordinary life? The life of Saint Amaswinthus of Málaga shouts a resounding yes to that question. His story is a quiet but powerful assurance that a life of faithful perseverance, even if it goes unnoticed by the world, shines brightly in the eyes of God and can inspire others for 1,000 years. Thank you so much for joining me today to learn about this wonderful saint of quiet dedication. I hope his story has brought you some encouragement. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, share, and consider subscribing to our channel for more stories like this. May the example of Saint Amaswinthus inspire you to find holiness in your everyday life. Take care, everyone. Stay healthy and hungry for holiness. God bless you, and we'll see you in the next video.